Autostrada, whose parent firm Atlantia also runs toll road concessions in Brazil, Chile, India and Poland, said it had done regular sophisticated checks of the structure, adding these tests gave reassuring results. But the bridge's condition and its ability to cope with the weight of higher levels of traffic have been the focus of public debate since the collapse, as has public spending. Within hours of the disaster, the anti-establishment government that took office in June said the collapse showed Italy needed to spend more on its dilapidated infrastructure, ignoring EU budget constraints if necessary.
Schools in Afghanistan continue to be the target of suicide bombings as dozens of people are left dead in the latest attack. Officials say at least 48 people were killed and roughly 70 injured in an attack at an educational center in Kabul. Many of the casualties are believed to be teenagers. While a police spokesman confirmed the attack was carried out by a suicide bomber, no group has taken responsibility. Both ISIS and the Taliban have been known to carry out attacks in the region, but the Taliban has denied any involvement. Witnesses described the violent incident.
Most of the boys who were at the educational center have been killed. Many of them were injured. It was a very horrific situation, and many of the students were torn into pieces.
Afghanistan's president has condemned the attack. Iran says the new convention of the Caspian Sea prohibits the presence of the U.S. and NATO in the region. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said the new treaty will protect the Islamic countries of Caucasus and Central Asia from U.S. influence. He alleged the U.S. wanted to deploy its naval and ground units near the Caspian Sea to threaten the Ayatollah regime. This comes after the leaders from several countries established their own territorial waters and new fishing rules in that sea. Rouhani reiterated the signatories' joint commitment to countering the U.S.
The conspiracy of Americans and even NATO was to come to the Caspian Sea's waters and have their soldiers set their boots on the shores of the Caspian Sea. They wanted to deploy their frigates, helicopters, planes and bases here. In these agreements we banned the creation of military bases near the Caspian Sea.
Despite the new agreement, several issues related to the Caspian Sea remain unresolved, including the demarcation of underwater oil fields. Congress threatens to cut funding to Saudi Arabia if the country continues to wage war with Yemen. Defense Secretary James Mattis will have 30 days to prove to Congress that the Arab coalition is working for peace. And if he doesn't, all funding for U.S.-backed Saudi refueling operations will be cut off. This after the Saudis launched a devastating strike on Yemeni Houthi rebels last week. Mattis has previously suggested restricting aid from Saudi Arabia will not help the Arab kingdom prevent further civilian
killing all them kids.
This comes as ongoing attacks have left many historic Yemeni cities in ruins and forced thousands to flee. David Doyle has more on the crisis.
The baked reddish-brown and lighter gypsum hues of the old city have been a feature of Yemen's capital for more than 1,000 years. But like the thousands of lives taken in the country's 3-year war, that heritage too risks being lost. Parts of Sanaa's old city have been razed by bombing, leaving just palm trees and rubble where unique tower houses once stood. Abu Hani Al-Aifa remembers the night his neighborhood in this UNESCO World Heritage Site was hit.
On the 18th of September 2015 at exactly 11:20, I was standing in front of my house and the aeroplanes were in the sky. Then the house was hit and Aini's children were having dinner, him and his family, 4 girls and 4 boys.
That was the year a Saudi-led coalition entered the war on the side of Yemen's internationally recognized government against the Iran-aligned Houthi movement that controls the capital. That triggered a campaign of airstrikes that have killed hundreds of civilians. On Monday, mourners buried dozens of children, victims of one such raid.
Right there.
Riyadh has defended that strike as a legitimate military action. But amid the bloodshed and carnage, Old City residents also fear their dense warren of mosques, bathhouses and 6,000 mud brick homes is being forgotten.
Even international organizations, they all looked after old Sanaa, the mosques and gates, the houses, even the gypsum across all of old Sanaa. Of course, after this war, they no longer look after old Sanaa.
UNESCO says it's assessing the damage to the old city, but that it's too early to quantify. And it says the toll of war is not unique to the capital. listing a host of sites across the country that have been severely damaged or destroyed. The organisation has reiterated the need for all sides in the conflict to avoid damaging irreplaceable sites and monuments, saying they are of global significance and critical to the identities of Yemeni people.
Monsoon rains in India are causing widespread devastation, claiming the lives of dozens of people and causing thousands to flee their homes. Officials say more than 40 people have died due to the flooding in the southern state of Kerala, and over 50,000 are seeking shelter. The weather has triggered landslides and hundreds of homes have been destroyed. Residents expect it'll take a lot of time and work to recover.
In our village, everyone's homes were destroyed. It will be a long time before we can go back. I have no idea how long it will take and where I will take my family. It will take a long time to rebuild.
The flooding has disrupted travel in the south, forcing a major airport to shut down until the weekend. Officials believe the conditions will worsen over the next few days, but expect the rains to die down by Saturday. The leader of the World Health Organization is linking ongoing fighting in the Democratic Republic of the Congo to the Ebola virus. Here's more on what health officials are doing to stop the spread of the deadly virus.
Dangerous.
An experimental Ebola treatment is being used to combat the latest flare-up of the virus in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But the vaccine is only being used in the eastern part of the country, which is rife with armed conflict. Now the World Health Organization is calling for an end to the fighting to help stop the spread of the virus.
What we are asking the international community is to help in ensuring access to the inaccessible areas. And also we call on the warring parties for cessation of hostilities, because the virus is dangerous to all.
It's the first time the antibody known as MAB114 has been deployed against an Ebola outbreak. Humanitarian agencies are also boosting their personnel in the region.
We are also trying to scale up our presence in all of the areas where we can be, and to really try to respond up to the scale for this, and to prevent potentially further spreading in urban centers like Goma, because that would be also an aggravating factor.
42 people are believed to have died in Congo's 10th Ebola outbreak since it was discovered in the 1970s. The virus, which causes fever, vomiting and diarrhea, finds a natural home in Congo's forests. Between 2013 and 2016, more than 11,300 people were killed by the virus in West Africa.
Still ahead here on this hour of One America News, the White House continues to push back on claims made by former aide Omarosa. One America sat down with a White House insider to discuss that issue. Plus, a new poll details who voters prefer to be the next House Speaker as Paul Ryan gets closer to retirement. More on those findings when we come back.